I will tell you a story, and you won't be able to look away even if you want to. It didn't happen in an old house on the outskirts of town, or in an abandoned hospital. It happened in an ordinary apartment where ordinary people lived. I know every detail because I was there when it all began, and I heard the silence change, as if someone was slowly tuning an instrument not meant for human ears. It all started with a small thing, a missing spoon. Nothing special, you might say spoons get lost, but this spoon kept coming back. Every evening, it would appear in the exact same spot on the kitchen table, even though it wasn't there in the morning. The woman of the house, around 40 years old, first laughed it off, then grew annoyed, and then became afraid. She said the spoon was cold, like metal freshly poured from water, even though it was summer and the radiators had long been turned off. Then the clocks began to disappear, not all at once, one, then another. They didn't break or stop, they simply vanished from the rooms where they were left, and in their place, small traces would appear as if someone had dragged their fingers across the table, leaving thin, almost invisible streaks. These streaks weren't made of dirt or dust, they were cold to the touch and seemed to whisper, "Look closer." At night, footsteps would start sounding in the apartment, not heavy or confident light, as if someone were walking on thin ice. The footsteps would travel down the hallway, stop at the bedroom door, and then the room would grow so quiet you could hear your own heartbeat. The woman would wake up, turn on the light, and the footsteps would fall silent. But in the morning, imprints would remain on the pillow, not human, not animal, but something else, as if someone had slept there without having a body. One night, the woman's husband woke up because someone was whispering his name. The whisper was close, right by his ear, but when he turned over, no one was in the room. He got up, walked down the hallway, and saw a reflection in the mirror, not his own, but a silhouette standing behind him. The silhouette didn't move, but its eyes were empty, like two holes in an old mask. The husband spun around sharply, and again, no one was there. On the mirror, only a single drop of water remained, slowly trickling downward, leaving a thin trail behind it. The neighbors began to notice oddities. The cat, which had never ventured outside before, was once sitting on the windowsill, staring into emptiness and hissing at the air. A child, who never lied, said that the one who counts the clocks lived under the bed. He said it calmly, as if describing a neighbor from down the hall, and his voice didn't tremble. His parents laughed, but their laughter was strained, like a string ready to snap. One day, the woman decided to record everything that was happening. She turned on a tape recorder and left it on the table, thinking she might capture the footsteps, whispers, maybe even music. On the recording, all you could hear was silence, the kind of silence that presses on your ears. But when she rewound the tape, at the very edge of the silence, a sound emerged, quiet, like breathing underwater. It wasn't a whisper, it was counting. Slow, steady counting. 1, 2, 3 and so on, endlessly, as if someone were counting the seconds stolen from people. They tried to leave. They packed their things, got in the car, and drove 4 hours to stay with relatives. But when they returned, they discovered the apartment hadn't been empty in their absence. That same spoon lay on the table, the clocks hung on the wall, and new streaks, like from fingers, marked the floor. On the wall above the door, someone had neatly written a word in chalk that couldn't be read at first glance. The letters were thin, like cracks in glass. When the woman approached, the letters formed a word she had known since childhood, but had never heard spoken aloud. Counting. That night, they decided not to sleep. They sat in one room, holding hands, listening as the house counted. At first, the counting was slow, almost gentle. Then it sped up. Voices that weren't voices began repeating numbers, and it seemed as though the walls themselves were adding them to the rhythm. The woman's heart beat in time, and she realized the counting wasn't for them, it was for something living in the shadows. Between minutes, when the clock struck midnight, the counting stopped. A silence fell so deep it felt like you could hear the light dying. And then, right before their eyes, time in the apartment froze. The clock on the wall began ticking backward. The spoon rose into the air and hovered above the table, and new imprints appeared on the floor, not from fingers, but from something that didn't touch the ground. They watched as the shadows gathered into a single figure, as if someone were assembling a silhouette from the night. The figure turned to them, and in its empty eye sockets, they saw not a reflection, but counting, numbers flowing one after another, like teeth in a mouth. The woman closed her eyes, but the counting continued to sound in her head. The husband felt something tugging at his tongue, trying to pull out a word he hadn't had time to say. The child fell asleep, and a smile froze on his lips, like that of someone who knows how the story ends. In the morning, the apartment was empty, no signs of a struggle, no doors left wide open. Only the spoon lay on the table, and on it, etched in thin scratches, was a single word, remaining. Beneath it a number, small and precise, like a verdict. I won't tell you how many remain. I won't tell you who left and who stayed. I only know this. Sometimes, in the most ordinary of places, counting begins. And it isn't for the clocks. It's for us. And if you hear someone counting quietly somewhere in the silence, don't think it's just the wind. Listen carefully. Maybe they're counting you.